Welcome to the Kitchen Think podcast Vodcast. This is the second episode in season 1 of this new production being recorded on the 16th of June 2026. I'm your host, Dr. Tim Kitchen from CTL Creative Teaching and Learning. In this episode, I'll be chatting about the recent EDUtech Australia conference in Sydney, where I posed this question to a number of presenters. If you could give one piece of advice to every teacher about preparing young people for an AI-rich future, what would it be and why? We'll also be looking at the recent letter Pope Leo published titled Magnificat Humanitas on safeguarding the human person in the time of artificial intelligence. This letter provided some very profound advice for educators around the ethical use of AI in the process of learning and teaching. Before we go any further on this episode, I'd like to thank all the teachers who came up to me during EDUtech and complimented episode 1. And I'd like to thank those of you who are following via Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or subscribing to my YouTube channel. You can find out more about this vodcast via timkitchen.net/podcast. Also, look up my CTL Creative Teaching and Learning site via timkitchen.net/CTL for a range of free resources I've created for busy teachers interested in safe and ethical ways to incorporate AI and digital creativity into the teaching and learning process. If you'd like me to work with the staff and or students at your school, either in person or online, you can book me via timkitchen.net/book-tim. This year's EDUtech Australia conference involved about 10,000 educators, school leaders, technology specialists and industry partners, all under the one roof at the Sydney International Convention Centre. Here's a report that I posted soon after the event. What an incredible 2 days we had at the 2026 EDUtech Australia conference, held on the 3rd and the 4th of June at the Sydney International Convention Centre. As one of the largest education conferences in the Southern Hemisphere, EDUtech brought together around 10,000 participants, including education professionals from K-12 and higher education and the TAFE sector, hundreds of inspiring presenters, and a wide range of innovative exhibitors from across the education technology sector. They were all gathered under one roof to share ideas, showcase solutions, and explore the future of learning. Hi Matt, how are you going?
I'm good, Tim.
Good, are you enjoying EDUtech?
Yeah, it's great. Lots of catching up with people, lots of catching up with ideas as well, and some great panels and talks as well.
The thing I love the most about this is actually seeing like-minded individuals coming together and working out that we're not just alone in this space, we're not just silos. And sometimes when you're in schools or in states or in industry, you feel like you're just by yourself, and it's really good to be able to come and connect.
What has always made EDUtech so valuable is the opportunity for educators and leaders to connect with organisations of all sizes across the technology sector, learning from one another and building relationships that extend well beyond the conference itself. This year's event had a particularly strong focus on AI, with some of Australia's leading thinkers sharing their experiences, lessons learned and practical insights. It was encouraging to see these conversations happening at scale, providing educators and leaders with the opportunity to learn from peers who are actively navigating both the opportunities and challenges that AI presents. What stood out most wasn't the technology itself, it was the passion of the people in the room. The collective commitment to prepare young people for a rapidly changing world through creativity, critical thinking, meaningful human connection, and purposeful innovation was evident throughout the conference. A huge thank you to the presenters, the organisers, the exhibitors, and the many educators who took the time to stop for a chat, exchange ideas, and challenge assumptions. Those conversations are often where real learning happens. The future of education is being shaped right now, and it's encouraging to see so many people committed to ensuring that that future remains deeply human. As I mentioned earlier, I did ask some key presenters this question. If you could give one piece of advice to every teacher about preparing young people for an AI-rich future, what would it be and why? One of the most popular presenters at EDUtech this year was Australian psychologist, author and fellow at the University of Melbourne, Dr. Andrew Fuller. Let's hear his response to that question.
We live in a world that is driven by algorithms which splinter our society, which rob us of our attention span. And we need to think about how do we then know enough about how our brains have been functioning for a long, long time, and how to basically protect what's unique about human functioning away from basically the machine stuff, the algorithms really in AI. It doesn't mean we can't use it, we just need to be aware that they're different types of processes and they can both augment one another, but we've got to protect what's humanity.
Thank you, Andrew, much appreciated.
Thanks, Tim.
Round of applause for Andrew Fuller, fantastic presentation. Thank you so much, it's wonderful. Holly Payne is the Deputy Principal of Learning and Teaching at Queen Margaret College in Wellington, New Zealand. Let's hear her response.
It's absolutely got to be that we teach them critical thinking, and hopefully after my presentation today people will know how. It's got to be made intentional, it's got to be contextualised, it's got to be relevant to assessment, and it needs to become a disposition. I think our students are saturated with this world of information and misinformation. They're trying to understand algorithms and artificial intelligence, and this is the one thing that we can truly teach our students to be able to tackle their world today.
Holly, thank you for being on the Kitchen Think podcast of Vodcast. It's been lovely to meet you.
It's been a pleasure, Tim. Thank you.
Bob Willetts is the principal at Berry Public School, which is about 60 kilometres south of Wollongong in New South Wales. His school was the 2024 winner of the Australian Government School of the Year. Here's Bob's response.
I think based on my presentation, I would think the importance of human connection is absolutely vital for the success of schools, and in fact every organisation. And someone in the audience when I was just going around the room said, come together for face-to-face meetings. So we have a phrase, just because we can doesn't mean we should. Just because we can go online for everything doesn't mean we should. We need to analyse what the cost is, what's the loss, and often the loss is human connection. And when you lose human connection, you lose optimising creativity and critical thinking and results ultimately for the students. So stay connected and keep the humanity elevated in schools would be my advice in an AI world.
I'll be sharing more responses from presenters at EDUtech in future episodes. On the 25th of May this year, Pope Leo released his first encyclical titled Magnificat Humanitas on safeguarding the human person in the time of artificial intelligence. Magnificat Humanitas is Latin for magnificent humanity or the magnificence of humanity. An encyclical is a formal letter written by the Pope to the bishops of the Catholic Church and to the wider world. This letter provided the backbone of the June 2026 edition of the Kitchen Think article. You can read the full article via timkitchen.net/kitchen-think-archives. In his letter, the Pope provides us with a timely reminder that while AI can be a powerful tool for learning, it must never replace the uniquely human qualities that education seeks to nurture. Pope Leo says, "Never has humanity had such power over itself." He is warning us that we are creating technologies, particularly AI, with an unprecedented capacity to shape how people think, learn, communicate, work, and make decisions. Unlike previous waves of innovation, these technologies are not just changing the world around us, they are increasingly influencing human behaviour, knowledge, relationships, and access to opportunity on a global scale. With that level of influence comes significant responsibility. The challenge is no longer simply whether we can build these technologies, but whether we should, how we should, and ultimately who benefits from the choices we make. The Pope says, technology has the power to heal, connect, educate, and protect our common home, but it can also divide, exclude, and generate new forms of injustice. Here, Pope Leo recognises that technology is not inherently good or bad. Its impact depends on the choices we make about how it's designed, governed, and used. Technology has the potential to bring enormous benefits. It can heal through medical advances, AI-assisted diagnostics, and improve access to healthcare. It can connect people across cultures, enable new forms of collaboration, and strengthen communities. It can support education by creating more personalised learning experiences, expanding access to knowledge, and helping teachers meet the needs of diverse learners. Technology can also play an important role in caring for our planet, from monitoring environmental change to improving resource efficiency and supporting sustainability initiatives. It offers powerful tools to help address some of the most pressing challenges facing our world. At the same time, Pope Leo warns that the very technologies capable of delivering such benefits can also cause significant harm. They can deepen divisions through misinformation, polarisation, and algorithm-driven echo chambers that shape what people see and believe. They can widen existing inequalities by excluding those who lack access to technology, digital literacy, or the resources needed to participate fully in an increasingly digital society. He also highlights the risk of new forms of injustice emerging when technology is not developed or used responsibly. Biased algorithms can reinforce discrimination. Surveillance technologies can erode privacy and personal freedoms. And the benefits of innovation can become concentrated in the hands of a privileged few, while others are left behind. The challenge is not simply technological, but deeply human, ensuring that these powerful tools serve the common good and contribute to a more just and inclusive society. For teachers, this is a reminder that our role is not simply to teach students how to use technology. We must also help them develop the wisdom, critical thinking, ethical understanding, empathy, and sense of responsibility needed to ensure that technology serves humanity rather than the other way around. In many ways, Pope Leo is calling educators to focus not just on preparing students for the future of technology, but on preparing them to shape that future in ways that uphold human dignity, justice, and the common good. At the heart of the Pope's letter is the belief that every human being possesses an inherent dignity and worth that cannot be reduced to data, efficiency, or productivity. The Pope's phrase, "the grandeur of humanity," points to the remarkable qualities that make us human: our creativity, empathy, wisdom, moral judgment, relationships, imagination, our capacity to love and search for meaning. These are not problems to be solved by technology. They are gifts to be cherished and developed. The Pope reminds us that these issues are not distant concerns for future generations. The decisions being made today about AI, digital technologies, and data are already influencing how students learn, how teachers teach, how people access information, and how societies function. The ethical questions surrounding technology are immediate and require action now. Rather than calling for resistance to technology, Pope Leo acknowledges its reality and growing presence. AI is already embedded in search engines, educational tools, healthcare, communication platforms, and countless everyday activities. The challenge is therefore not whether to engage with these technologies, but how to engage them wisely and ethically. For educators, this is a reminder that our role is not simply to help students become competent users of technology. We must also help them become thoughtful, ethical, and responsible human beings who can shape technology for the common good. In a world where AI can increasingly generate content, answer questions, and automate tasks, schools have an even greater responsibility to nurture the uniquely human qualities that machines cannot truly replicate: curiosity, creativity, compassion, critical thinking, wisdom, and moral courage. The Pope's message is ultimately one of optimism. He believes that while technology is transforming society, humanity still has the power to decide what kind of future it wants to build. Education, therefore, becomes one of the most important places where that future is shaped. By helping young people understand both the opportunities and the risks of AI, teachers play a crucial role in ensuring that technology remains in service of humanity rather than humanity becoming subservient to technology. While much of the conversation around AI focuses on productivity, innovation, and educational possibilities, these technologies also have a physical footprint that must be considered ethically and responsibly. In his letter, the Pope says, "Current AI systems require enormous amounts of energy and water, significantly influencing carbon dioxide emissions and place very heavy demands on natural resources. As their complexity increases, especially in the case of large language models, the need for computing power and storage capacity grows as well, which requires an extensive network of machines, cables, data centres, and energy-intensive infrastructure. For this reason, it's essential to develop more sustainable technological solutions that reduce environmental impact and help protect our common home." The Pope is drawing attention to the reality that AI does not exist in a virtual world detached from the environment. Every AI interaction relies on physical infrastructure powered by electricity and cooled using significant amounts of water. The data centres that support AI systems require vast quantities of energy and water to operate and prevent overheating. As demand for AI services continue to grow, so too does the environmental cost associated with powering and maintaining these systems. The Pope is not condemning AI, but encouraging society to acknowledge and take responsibility for these hidden environmental consequences. Rather than rejecting technological progress, Pope Leo calls for innovation that is environmentally responsible. He argues that technological advancement should not be measured solely by capability or profitability, but also by sustainability. Developers, governments, businesses, and users all have a role in encouraging more efficient AI systems, cleaner energy sources, and infrastructure that minimises environmental harm. The benefits of AI should not come at the expense of future generations or the health of the planet. Chapter 4 of the encyclical is titled "Safeguarding Humanity at a Time of Transformation: Truth, Work, Freedom." One section in this chapter particularly stood out to me under the heading, "The Central Role of Schools." The Pope says, "Many educational systems struggle to keep pace with change and to support the integral development of students. The advance of information technologies and AI is rapidly rendering curricula obsolete that were designed for a different era. Meanwhile, the organisation of schools, physical spaces, evaluation methods, and the role of teachers themselves must be rethought in order to promote an authentically integral education that addresses every dimension of the person. It is necessary to support the ongoing formation of teachers throughout their professional lives so that they can engage positively with new technologies, helping students to use them responsibly, critically, and creatively, rather than passively succumbing to their influence." Such profound words from the Pope. This passage speaks directly to one of the greatest challenges facing education today. Pope Leo is not simply commenting on technology. He is questioning whether many of our educational systems are still fit for purpose in a world being transformed by artificial intelligence and rapid technological change. The Pope acknowledges a reality that many educators experience every day. While society is changing rapidly, schools often struggle to adapt at the same pace. Curricular, assessment systems, structures and policies are frequently built upon assumptions from a different era, from a past era. At the same time, the Pope reminds us that education should be about far more than academic achievement. The purpose of education is the integral development of the whole person: intellectual, social, emotional, ethical, creative, physical, and spiritual. In a rapidly changing world, schools face the challenge of preparing students not only for employment, but also for meaningful and responsible lives. The Pope is not suggesting that traditional knowledge has no value, but rather that many curricula were designed for a world where information was scarce, knowledge was relatively stable, and success often depended on memorization and routine problem solving. Today, students can access vast amounts of information instantly, and AI can increasingly perform many routine cognitive tasks. This raises important questions about what knowledge, skills, and dispositions should be prioritised in schools. In an AI-rich world, qualities such as critical thinking, creativity, ethical reasoning, communication, collaboration, adaptability, and lifelong learning become even more important. The Pope is challenging educators and policymakers to ask whether current curricula are adequately preparing young people for the realities that they will face. Pope Leo argues that responding to technological change is not simply about adding AI lessons to a curriculum or purchasing new digital tools. It requires a deeper reimagining of education itself. The design of schools, the way learning spaces are organised, the methods used to assess students, and even traditional assumptions about teaching may need to evolve. Assessment systems that focus heavily on production of standardised outputs may become increasingly problematic when AI can generate those outputs in seconds. Similarly, classrooms designed primarily around the transmission of information may be less effective when information is available everywhere. Instead, schools need to place greater emphasis on inquiry, problem-solving, creativity, collaboration, reflection, and authentic demonstrations of learning. The Pope's vision is not centred on technology, but on humanity. The goal is not to create students who are merely technologically proficient. The goal is to help young people flourish as complete human beings. The Pope suggests that if education reform focuses on only technological competence, it will miss the deeper purpose of education. The Pope recognises that teachers cannot be expected to navigate profound technological change without ongoing support and learning opportunities. Professional learning can no longer be viewed as an occasional event. In a world where technologies evolve continuously, teachers themselves need opportunities to remain informed, develop new skills, and reflect on the implications of emerging technologies for learning and assessment. Importantly, the Pope is not suggesting that teachers need to become technology experts. Rather, they need the confidence and understanding to make informed educational decisions about technology. The Pope does not advocate blind enthusiasm for technology either, nor does he call for the rejection of it. Instead, he encourages educators to engage positively and thoughtfully with technological developments. This balanced approach recognises that AI and digital technologies can offer genuine educational benefits when used wisely, while also acknowledging the risks and limitations that require careful consideration. Ultimately, Pope Leo is calling for educational transformation that places humanity at its centre. In an age where machines can increasingly generate answers, schools have an even greater responsibility to develop wisdom, character, creativity, compassion, and critical thinking. The future of education in the Pope's view is not about competing with artificial intelligence, but about cultivating the qualities that make us most profoundly human. It is refreshing and encouraging to see such progressive and thoughtful statements on education coming from one of our world leaders. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of the Kitchen Think podcast, Vodcast. Please do follow or subscribe if you haven't already. Also, have a look at the resources I'm building for teachers on the CTL Creative Teaching and Learning site via timkitchen.net/CTL. And if you'd like me to visit your school in person or online, To present and workshop a range of AI and education topics with teachers as well as students, feel free to contact me via timkitchen.net/book-tim. I'm Tim Kitchen, reminding you to keep being creative.